It was clear to me looking at this scientifically and reviewing the classified data that I got to review that there's only one conclusion about the origins of COVID, and that is that it came from the lab. It came from gain of function research. And I do think the American public would benefit from putting that baby to rest
Right.
because there still are people that want to say, oh, no, it came from, the wet market. It didn't come from the wet market.
So
It
back
came
in
from the lab.
2021, you went on CNN with Sanjay Gupta and you said exactly this, that, from what you'd seen, your understanding as a virologist, former head of the CDC, this was, under the Biden administration, so you'd left the CDC, a guy with a TS, that you thought this thing came from a lab, and you're immediately just attacked by Laura Helmuth, who at the time was editor-in-chief of Scientific American. She said Robert Redfield shared the conspiracy theory that the virus came from the Wuhan lab, and she said Redfield is not an authority on the science. And then she sicked her deputy, Fischman, on you. And he wrote this long piece calling what you had said on CNN was evidence-free. I mean, at the time when this happened, I didn't really know who you were. I wasn't really paying attention. It was in retrospect when I went back and looked, and I said, wait, this guy's a virologist. He is an expert. He ran the CDC and he has a top secret security clearance. Like, this is the guy you'd want to go to if you want to know how a pandemic possibly started, if there's something being hidden. How did you deal with that at the time? And first off, what do you think about that this happened, that Scientific American, I believe it's the oldest magazine in the United States, attacked you in this way?
Well, first you see that there was a conspiracy here, but the conspiracy was the scientific community to try to negate people like me and stop discussions. Fortunately, Collins and Fauci had made the decision that there was only one explanation that was going to be considered for the origin of the virus, and that was natural spillover. And as you know, you can go back and look at the phone call they had in February 1st and all the arm twisting that went on. I wasn't on that call. And again, I try to make sure the record's correct. Some people said I said Fauci excluded me from that call. And I said, that's not what I said before Congress. What I said under oath was Fauci didn't include me. There's a difference, but he didn't include me. And he knew my opinion was that I thought this was lab origin. And I really did have a lot of evidence to support my opinion. It's not like just an opinion, not the least of which was a paper published in 2014, 2015, paid for by Fauci's group to the Wuhan lab that successfully got coronaviruses to infect humanized mice. So they actually did
Right.
the experiments 4 years earlier. That was disappointing that the scientific community, and I think they were told by Jeremy Farrar, by Collins, by Fauci, that they had to circle the wagons here because if science was impugned as an etiology of this pandemic, it was going to hurt science forever. Instead of by trying to cover it up, which I think they tried to do, and it remained covered up because I didn't think truth ever will remain covered up, they end up really hurting science.